Well, hello there. Welcome to the show. This is Les Solgrove from Simply Des Moines Market Values. This is week 45, 2024. It's coming to you this week from Boston, Massachusetts. I'm at the NAR NXT Realtor Experience Conference. I've been here about a week and I'm ready to go home tomorrow. I'm going to bring you kind of a recap of the um, economic trends session that was hosted by Dr. Lawrence Yun and Dr. Jessica Lautz. It's a little different message than what we heard from Dr. Yun when he was in Iowa here a couple of weeks ago. The other thing is we're taking slides completely from the NAR presentation completely. I will come back next week and maybe come back and compare some of the slides from this week's show to our actual data. But for the meantime here, since I'm out of town, I thought, well, let's just take what they have going here. If there was any message that came from the session this week with Dr. Yoon and Dr. Lautz, it was a message of optimism and resilience. And so what I tried to do this week is kind of show that, give you the flavor of that from the presentations they both gave. It was a full packed audience. The room was full. And if you want to see more of the graphics from this week's show, I have a link at the very end that shows you where the graphics came from. You can download this from the NAR Realtor website, and it's free. It's out there on the public portion. So even if you're a consumer watching this, you can also download that as well and see the information. Well, let's jump right in here. I'm going to divide this show up into two sections here, Dr. Yoon's message and then Dr. Lautz's message. And Dr. Yoon spoke first, gave a very, very good presentation talking about home value, market changes, variations in the market, the political impact, spent some time talking about the election a little bit. I'm going to stay a little bit away from that. We'll make a couple of references, but trying to stay away from that. Just because I want to focus on real estate, and he did as well, by the way. Talked a little bit about interest rates and federal policy and how the country's going to move forward here potentially, and some of the things we'd like to see from that. And of course, he's also giving us his annual forecast. So I'll share that with you as well. Dr. Lautz is going to talk to us about affordability and limited inventory, some home buyer profiles and demographics, and where buyers and sellers were coming from, and the generational buying aspect as well. And she left her section with a very positive message here about the role of real estate agents, and I'll show you that at the very end as well. Well, let's jump in here. So this is Dr. Yoon's message, and again, from the topic he spoke of, I picked some of the categories out and just kind of tried to hit the slides that made the most sense for those sections. So first of all is home values and market changes. And there's an old adage in real estate that says that real estate is all local, and that's no more true in this graphic. It was just by happenstance he happened to show how pricing is changing between different areas of the country. He used the West and the Midwest, and of course the West Coast, obviously California, Washington State, and Oregon markets out there are all quite pricey, and just wanted to show you the differentiation between what the pricing is in the Midwest compared to the West. And what you can see is in the red line here, the first bubble that you see there around that 2005, 2008, that's the mortgage meltdown, or just prior to that, actually, is the buildup where median pricing was going up when home buyers were being able to purchase with no documentation loans and things like that. Where you can see the blue line, that's the Midwest. And while we saw a little increase, we certainly didn't see the spike like we saw in the West Coast. Now, it doesn't mean just the West is the only place that had these types of rises. Obviously, the Arizona, Florida, the East Coast, the New Yorks, the New England markets, some of the New England markets saw this same kind of a rise. But he was just comparing this between the Midwest and the West here. When you get over down here around 2020, 2021, of course, we've got COVID factors in there. And really from about 2020, August of 2020 moving forward was when the Midwest, or I'm sorry, the West Coast states saw this larger rise in home prices. again, where you can see that the Midwest really kind of just stayed on track. We've still got an increase, but more of a normal path. So if you're watching this and you're from the Midwest, feel good that you're normal. We don't see the highs and lows. We don't see the swings that some of the coast states will maybe see. So this was kind of a neat comparison of that. As far as home equity and the wealth gap, this is a great slide. It shows you kind of again, when home prices go up, obviously the equity in those homes build as well, and there's that ebbs and flows. So you go back to that 2005, six, and seven, when home values were going up. Of course, that was home equity is a result of gains in home pricing. And you get over to the far right slide, and you can see definitely the spike there from the COVID years. But what's interesting is we've seen the equity kind of drop just a little bit after the peak. And we're still above what you would consider normal. I mean, if you were to, and I don't think my cursor is showing here, but if you were to kind of follow that trending from 2012 or 2011 forward, everything was kind of on track to see, pretty normal home equity rises. And we're still seeing benefit from the COVID years of those higher prices in the home equity. So that's shown pretty clearly here on this graphic here. As far as the net worth gap and the home equity wealth gap, back in 2019, the median net worth of a renter was around $7,300 compared to just under $300,000 for the net worth of a homeowner. So this is the amount of money that you basically see in the home equity portion of your portfolio. And in 2022, just after COVID, that rose for the renters to 10,400, and the median net worth of homeowners obviously jumped to almost 400,000. But what's interesting here is you see in 2024, the net worth for home renters actually dropped about $400. And some of that is obviously the higher prices with the economic issues we've had going on this past couple of years. Is cost of goods is higher, the cost of transportation, the cost of the utilities, if you're paying those as a renter, those all go up. So that dinged into your net worth. While at the same time, we've seen from 2022 to 2024, we've seen a continued increase in the median net worth for homeowners. So, when's the best time to buy a house? It's when you can afford to. And jump in, buy that house, and start building that equity, because you can see the disparity is it's just amazing. It's just a crazy difference there between renting and owning. So that's kind of the message there. As far as regional variations, and this is maybe one of the two political points I'll bring up today. He did show us four different markets. The median home pricing in 2024 as far as quarter three. And if you're wondering what does Cincinnati, Rochester, South Florida, and the Bay Area have to do with this graphic, well, these represent the home areas of the presidential and vice presidential candidates prior to the election there. And you can see that Cincinnati would have been J.D. Vance, where he's basically from. Rochester was Tim Walz. South Florida was obviously Donald Trump, and then the Bay Area was Kamala Harris. And the median sale price regional variations, again, just showing you that all real estate is local, and whether this played into the minds of home buyers and voters at this election, that's to be determined on somebody else's payroll, not mine. But I just thought that was kind of an interesting market variation there, showing you those down the line. To get back to how it really is in real estate here, what is one of the biggest things that the new administration can do moving forward? And the question is, will Trump address the budget deficit? And what this graphic shows you is the green bar chart there, the columns, I should say, the column charts going up and down there along the bottom. That indicates the tax revenue collected by the government. And The orange line shows you basically the amount of money that the government is spending. And of course, you've heard the term deficit spending. Well, this is what that looks like. Really, ever since the mortgage meltdown recession that was in 2008, government has outspent the tax revenue. And of course, that large spike at the end down there you see is essentially from COVID spending. It's curbed a little bit the last couple of years, but it's spiked back up again now as inflation's kind of come back. And one of the biggest challenges for any administration, whoever it would have been, and is that we need to work our way back towards balancing the budget, and that is, basically spending no more than we're collecting. And there's two ways to do that. You can collect more and continue spending, or you can spend less and try to spend only what you're collecting. And I'm hoping that that uh, in the long term that we do both of those things. And what I mean by that is, I hope that we spend less and that we collect less, and that the money, the balanced budget is a reality here. So we'll see if that can happen. It's not going to happen very fast. I know there's lots of talk about how there's going to be a balanced budget, or they're going to work towards this, very, very quickly. Well, we didn't get into this quickly, and I don't see us getting out of it quickly. But I think that as long as they can make strides to that, that's a good position to be heading towards here. So, Dr. Yoon also spoke about interest rates in the Federal Reserve. He is predicting 6 to 8 rounds of cuts from the Fed rate in 2025 into 2026. Now, keep in mind the Federal Reserve rate is the amount that banks pay for the borrowing money, not what you and I as home buyers pay for borrowing money. And it's, pretty much you can see that we don't always see a direct correlation. There's somewhat of a correlation, but not a direct correlation. In fact, rates this past week rose again. 30-year fixed rate mortgage rates rose again, even though the Federal Reserve dropped the prime lending rate again by another quarter point. And Dr. Yoon's prediction moving into 2025 and into 2026 is that we will see rates kind of hovering around that 6% rate here. I think I've got a slide for that here. Yeah, right here at this one. So this is Dr. Yoon's forecast, and for 2025, 2026. 2024 is going to struggle to sell the same amount of homes that we've sold, or sell at an increase. I think we're going to still miss our mark this year, even though we're coming closer. And we'll talk about that next week as far as how many homes have sold. But I think with the the last 30 days of high mortgage interest rates, that's curbing a lot of activity that we may have liked to have seen. That's going to keep us from maybe closing that 13,200 number that we can kind of keep talking about at the local level here in the Des Moines market. So Dr. Yoon predicts a 9% increase in sales in 2025, a more robust year in 2026. So 9 to 13% respectively. New home sales are going to, he predicts, will increase this next year, and then decrease a little bit the year after. And maybe that has something to do with the development of the land and the process of the building. We've obviously got to have land to develop, and his plan is to open up some government land, hopefully to increase that. But I don't think we're going to see a huge change in our local market from that area. The median pricing, pretty conservative and responsible there at a 2% increase per year is what Dr. Yoon is predicting. Again, those mortgage interest rates, they're going to go up, they're going to go down, but they're going to pretty much hover right around that 6% is his prediction. And that can be good for home buyers and homeowners who are considering getting into the marketplace. There's going to be a point in time that homeowners that are sitting on those 3% mortgage interest rates are going to make a decision that it's worth finally jumping out into the home buying market. And I think stability of the existing mortgage rates is going to go a long ways to do that. Job gains, again, predicting 2 million new jobs every year for the next 2 years. So we'll see how that goes. Jumping into Dr. Lautz's portion of the program, she spoke about the affordability crisis and limited inventory. We all know we're short on inventory, even though it's continuing to rise. It's still well below what we need. but affordability is really the issue here. And this is a graphic you've kind of seen in different formats. This is the 30-year fixed rate interest rate mortgage tracking from 1971, April 1971 to date. And what's magic about 1971 is that that is the first year that this data was starting to be tracked. It's wonderful we have this kind of numbers going all the way back. You can see when the 30-year fixed rate mortgage recession of the 80s came into play, and that's where everybody talked about 18% mortgage rates. Just like today, we talk about the 2.5 to 3, and maybe 4% interest rates of the 2018, 2019, and 2020. But all in all, what this shows you is that we're probably not too far off of where our norms are. 7.74% across the board historical, and that's kind of right where we have been. Again, if we can be a little lower than that, that's a good sign. So I thought this was an interesting graphic too that Dr. Lautz produced. This shows you the age of the home purchased from 2009 compared all the way up to 2023. So it's fairly accurate as far as up to date right here. Some of the graphics that she produces have got a little bit of a lag time on it, but this one's pretty close. So back in 2009, the age of the home that we were seeing purchased was, I think 1991 was kind of the age of the house. It was, the homes were built in 1991. Today, 38 years old is the house, and that means that the homes that we're buying today on average are even older than that. Or 1986 would be the median age of the home being purchased, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that we just don't have the inventory. Even though new construction's coming on, it's the affordability is making a lot of home buyers buy older existing stock, and the age of the homes that are basically turning over today are 5 years older than they were back in 2009. And so, this might be also another factor as to why some buyers are not wanting to jump into the market. If they bought their home in 2009, 2010, they're not getting any newer of a home. In fact, they're having to buy an older home to jump into the market nationally. So that could be a limiting factor there. So the demographics of the current home buyer this past year has been changing. Basically, what we're seeing is nearly 1/3 of home buyers are single and they're female. They are actually the largest buying pool out there. We have an all-time high of child-free homes. So a lot of, with these single buyer purchases, we're seeing a lot of these homes being purchased without needing, more than 3 bedrooms, usually 2 to 3 bedrooms. If we had higher purchasers by buyers with children, we'd be looking at needing more bedrooms, and the pricing would probably be going up. We are also seeing a lot more aging in place, multi-generational living, maybe a parent or grandparent living with home buyers. And maybe this is, also existing, children still living with parents, adult children living with parents. But, I think it's just kind of interesting. That's our buyer pool. The homes purchase category over here, and this kind of goes back to that graphic of the 38-year-old home. 79% are buying detached single family homes at 1,860 square feet is the median square footage size, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Well, that's your typical, what I call a Des Moines two-story, around that 1,800 square foot. So if you think about that, I'll just give you an example. My home is built in 1977. It's 1,840 or 50 square feet itself. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, or 3 baths, but gives you that idea that these are the style homes that are out there being purchased. So just kind of confirmation, I guess. As far as where are these buyers buying, the migration of the buyers, when COVID hit, everyone kind of started moving away from the city center, and we're starting to see that migration move back into the cities again. And so things that are very, very important that home buyers have noted on their surveys are, they like now they want to make sure that the commute time and distance is very, very important to them because, maybe they were within a couple of minutes of work in the past. Now they want to make sure that, if they're going to move farther out or move back into the metro, they're kind of coming into the fringes of the metro areas and maybe some of the close-in suburbs. So that commute time is very important. They want to have access to the highways and the freeways as well so that they can get to work in that similar time that maybe they were used to, but not having to go side streets. Walkability and activities and amenities around the home are obviously always important. And we're seeing bike paths and bike lanes in the Des Moines metro and the suburbs just explode right now. So that's also something that's very, very important to home buyers out there. Public transportation, while at least in our marketplace, it's a factor. I think in the larger communities and the larger cities, public transportation is much more important. We've got a good public transportation system. It's just not as big of a key factor in my book, I don't think. I might be wrong, so you tell me. Um, this graphic kind of gives you an idea of who the buyers have been in the past couple of years. The baby boomers and the millennials were kind of fighting for that number one, number two spot. And during COVID, what we saw was a retraction of the baby boomers, where they kind of just dug in and said, we're not going to buy, we're going to stay put. Where the millennials are the ones that said, what, let's pull up roots and get out of town. But what we saw after that now, and this is where Dr. Yoon's research shows that we're seeing people kind of coming back into the closer to the metro, back to maybe their place of work. The boomers, took over that in 2023, starting to come back into the marketplace when mortgage interest rates were higher. They could sell and buy paying cash maybe and not have that same effect. But here in this last 12 months or this last year or so of 2024, we're seeing now the millennials are back in control. They're 38% of the home purchaser pool, and the boomers are down to 31%. And of course, um, your Gen Xers are 24. They're coming right along, and then you get down there at the silent generation and such down to the bottom there. So as far as where this migration is nationally, it's kind of interesting here as well. The red or the darker the red or purple or orange colors, whatever color you're seeing today, that's negative migration. So we're seeing people move out of California, out of New York, out of Illinois. Those are your top three areas that we're seeing migration out of. And a lot of that has to do with the cost of living, the taxes, the home pricing in those marketplaces. I was sitting next to a gentleman this week. He's from upstate New York, and he says, when they talk about New York City and the state of New York, he says, that's not me. He says, we don't even claim them in these statistics, but they get kind of lumped in because it's part of the state. So there are, parts of New York State that are still affordable and different than uh, the New York City and the Manhattan area there. So on the flip side of this, you can see that the darker the blue and the blue gray, these are the places where people are migrating to. And obviously, Texas and Florida are the two states where we're seeing the most migrations to. Iowa is right there, just in the first blue shading. We're seeing I think it was about a 4% increase of, that might be wrong on that. That might be confusing that with another stat, but we're definitely seeing an increase of migration into our state and not losing people. So again, at the bottom of each of these slides as well, these are from Dr. Yoon and Dr. Lautz's presentation. You see at the very bottom, there's an actual link to where they found this information as well. So if you go to the NAR.realtor website and download the PowerPoints, you can also then see on each of these slides where the data comes from. So the last slide here from Dr. Lautz is one that gave us the most confidence and optimism from just like Dr. Yoon. But this shows us that as an industry, the real estate jobs and the real estate community, we are resilient. We are seeing 89% of sellers using full service, or actually using realtors. And actually, if you took out the limited service of real estate professionals, it's even higher than the 89%. So, uh, 9 out of 10 home buyers out there are using a realtor to represent them in the transaction, even with the lawsuit settlement stuff and all the confusion in the marketplace. Where you look at the for sale by owners only down around that 7% and others 4%, which would be your non-arm's your transactions that are not arm's length, whatever. So that gives me a lot of confidence. The role of the realtor is here to stay, regardless of how maybe you're feeling about the real estate market and the business. We all have a high degree of confidence that the home buyers are out there wanting and needing our services. So focus on your business, and I think things will go just fine here in the next couple of years for us here. So again, this is the resources from today's show. If you go to nar.realtor, you click on the research and statistics tab, and then navigate over to presentation slides. These are the two PowerPoints that you want to look for: real estate and an economic outlook, November 2024. And the other one is Trends in Real Estate Market by Dr. Lautz. They're probably going to be a dozen more PowerPoints on top of these. So you might have to scroll down just a little bit because these are being added every day at the NAR convention. So this is your best resource to come back from. So anyway, that's the show. My name is Les Solgrove. This has been Simply Des Moines Market Values. I appreciate your time and watching every week, and we'll be back to local market real estate statistics for the Des Moines and Central Iowa real estate market next week, and we'll see you all again soon. Take care.